Hi everyone, I'm Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yaker. My guest in today's show is Reverend Michael J.S. Carter. In past shows, I had the privilege of interviewing him about his books, Alien Scriptures and the Holy Bible, and A New World, If You Can Take It, God, Extraterrestrials, and the Evolution of Human Consciousness. Today, I'll be talking with him about his latest book, Enlightenment. Reverend Michael J.S. Carter, welcome to Paranormal Yaker.
Always a pleasure to be here, Stan. I thank you for taking the time and giving me the time to talk to you about this new book.
You, Michael, grew up in Baltimore in the African American Baptist tradition.
Oh, yes.
Today, you're a well-respected religious leader at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Shenandoah Valley in Black Mountain, North Carolina. How did you get from point A to point Z, or as they say in Canada, point Z?
Wow. Well, I'm going to try to give you the truncated version. You know, when I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a clergy person. I did not know the word clergy. I said I wanted to be a priest. I was fascinated by religion, even from a young child. And like most kids, you want your parents to be proud of. And so they were very religious people, and I liked religion. So it kind of greased the wheel, so to speak. I was the oldest. And so, but I had a genuine love of it. But the theology of the Orthodox Christian denominations started to get in the way of my own experiences because I met people of different faith traditions. And it was difficult for me to reconcile that these good people were going to burn in eternity simply because they didn't believe the same thing I believe. I just stopped buying that. And so I kept going and pushing myself, and then I backed away. Started researching, looking for the historical Jesus, looking at other ways of being, Eastern philosophies, Native American spirituality. I was on my quest. And in New York City, which I lived there for almost 30 years, when I was talking to someone, they said, wow, that's pretty broad. They said, you sound like a Unitarian Universalist. I said, well, what is that? And I started visiting those congregations, and I liked that they were open, that wisdom came from other traditions. Even if you were an atheist or an agnostic, there were wisdom, humanist traditions there. That kind of got me going. And I said, I need to belong here. It's flawed like every other denomination. Nothing's perfect, but it suited me. I could search, I could quest. No one would say I was blasphemous or I need to pray for you. You need help. They were open. And so I found a home there.
In today's society, many people say that although they don't consider themselves to be religious and don't belong to any organized religion, they do consider themselves to be spiritual beings.
Yes.
What, Michael, is your take on the matter? And what would you say to someone who says they are spiritual but not religious?
I would say to them that I hear that and I respect that. And at one time, I was never comfortable with the phrase. Just let me put it that way. I would say I'm spiritual and religious because I know that religion in its truest sense is, for me, a positive thing. It changes lives. And some of my heroes were deeply religious. Howard Thurman, Mother Teresa, Joan of Arc, Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to celebrate. So I can't say that religion is bad. I just think that a lot of people get turned off from it because of the hypocrisy of organized or disorganized religion today. So I would respect that. There's a group of people called the nuns. They have no religion. But I would also say that for me, I am both. You cannot live in this culture, not just Western culture, but American culture, and not be influenced by both, whether it's no more than just acknowledging the holidays. So that's what I would say. If religion doesn't work for you, fine. But for me, there's a positive part to religion. And so I say that they're both and they can be intertwined. I don't believe they can be partial. So well, that's religion and this is not.
From your pulpit, you have been known to often remind your congregation that we are human beings, not human doings. Could you, Michael, elaborate on that? What exactly do you mean when you say those words?
I mean, Stan, and these are, as usual, these are wonderful questions. What I mean is that because of Western culture, probably with the Industrial Revolution, maybe before, but I don't think so. In America, and it's also the Protestant work ethic, that it's almost like we're glorifying the busyness, that I'm busy. If I'm a therapist, I'm seeing 25 clients a day. I'm a good therapist, right? If I'm a minister, well, I'm doing. And so our identities become melded into what we do as to who we are. And so I think that we've glorified doing, that I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm doing. So I'm earning whatever good comes to me. And I think that we can lose sight of who we are. I think all genuine spiritual paths, that's why they have something called a Sabbath. Whether you're spiritual or religious, that you are encouraged to take a time to slow down, to get off of the merry-go-round. I mean, I think of the phrase Gandhi said that there's more to life than increasing its speed. And so in order to hear yourself, whether you believe in a God or not, just to hear that voice within you, you've got to slow down. You've got to learn to be still and just to be, just to breathe, just to be. And I think that's the key that we need to get back to. However you do it, you can take a walk in the woods, you can be close to nature, you can sit cross-legged and meditate, you can contemplate just being quiet and thinking, however you need to do it, but you have to find that time where you can unplug and reboot and just be.
Your congregation, Michael, is all inclusive. Its
Mhm.
doors are open to all children of the Creator,
Yes.
and you welcome them with love and compassion. Regretfully, some houses of worship don't do that. If you had the opportunity to speak with a minister from one of those congregations, what would you say?
I would say that we don't have to think alike to love alike. That's what I would say. We don't have to think alike to love alike, and that there's wisdom to be gained from all the great literature, the great art, the great houses of worship, the different houses of worship. We can all glean something to make us better and to make us appreciate the good, the beautiful, and the true. There's not only one way to God, call it what you will, the force, creation, it doesn't matter what you call it, but there are many ways to get there. And when we silo and say this is the only way, when we reduce all the mysteries and varieties of life to one scripture passage, to one line from a holy book, all the mysteries of life, you can't do that. It's not believable, and you can't do it. Life is full of ups and downs and mysteries and disappointments and joy. And to say I have the only way, not only is it very dangerous, but it's pretty much unrealistic. And that's why you have all these people saying, I don't deal with this anymore. I'm spiritual, but not religious, or I don't even deal with anything remotely that has anything to do with religion or an unseen world, if you will.
Enlightenment contains inspiring, thought-provoking sermons you've given from your pulpit, and they cover a wide range of topics. This includes personal, spiritual growth, the nature of justice, holidays, and religion itself. What, Michael, are the dynamics involved when you set out to write a sermon?
Fortunately for me and my denomination, I'm not limited to one holy book. I certainly incorporate those a type of wisdom, those types of lessons, but I could be reading the New York Times and boom, something germinates, and I can use that as a resource. My own personal experience. All of these things are just as valid. And so that gives me a broader rubric to draw from. I draw from life itself, along with sacred texts, along with literature of other civilizations. And so I'm always researching, wait, how does this fit in? What does the Tao Te Ching say about this? What does the Dalai Lama say about this? What does the Pope say about this? What does one of my favorite journalists from the New York Times say? And I start to formulate. And so I'm drawing from different well springs. It keeps the message fresh. It keeps it contemporary. There's some things that were true 5,000 years ago that I can use that will be true 5,000 years from now. There are also some things that maybe that's kind of dated, and I need to be drawing from other things to make it fit this world and the world I live in. I think the reason that we lose a lot of people in our churches is that they're saying, just because someone said something 2,500 years ago, make it relevant for me now. How can I use that in my journey now? And that's what I try and do.
Most everyone, I'm certain, knows the children's rhyme. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me. Your sermon, A Rose by Any Other Name, tells a different story. Names do matter. They do cause harm. Can you, Michael, give some examples of that?
I think that was it Wordsworth who said we murder to dissect? And by that, I'm thinking he means, see, when we label something, we think that we have a handle on it. We think that we have control over it. And basically, we don't have any control over it. It's just that we have put it in a box. And so the word God is one of those words. And so a rose by any other name sometimes is a rose. But when we put people in boxes, we don't want to be put in a box. Then we think that we handle it. We think we have a handle on it, but all we've done in many instances is made ourselves feel good and say, I know who you are. I know that is because I've labeled it. And what I'm saying is sometimes we have to go beyond the labels. We have to risk being uncomfortable. And that's what I mean, and that's what I meant in that sermon.
The sermon you wrote about African Americans and the 4th of July was quite revealing and very touching. Obviously, it required a lot of self-reflection on your part. What I would like to know, Michael, is how you viewed the 4th of July as a youngster and how you now look at it as an adult.
As a youngster, I wasn't as sophisticated or unsophisticated in my thinking about what it really meant. For me as a youngster, it was a day, it was a holiday, barbecues, fireworks, etc. But as I got older and reading Frederick Douglass and some other people, but realizing that the very thing that we were celebrating was something that all of us didn't experience, this notion of freedom, this notion of liberty. And so it's a bittersweet, on the fence kind of holiday for me. No, I'm not into firecrackers and all that. But I know that the democratic experiment is that. It's an experiment. We haven't reached it, not just for folk of color, but for many people. And so I think that what we celebrate is fine. Every nation has to have its myths about itself, but you don't want to have those myths and not be critical. Dr. King said where there was no disappointment, you can't have a great disappointment if you don't have great love. I love my nation. I love it. I know people come here every day. They're coming here now, escaping from whatever traumas and whatever they were going through geopolitically, religiously. So I don't forget that. And I ask people who do criticize the nation, and there's a lot to criticize. When was the last time you said something good about America? Because America has been good to me. But I also know that it can be better, that we can be better. And in order to do that, you have to be able to take off the rose-colored glasses and to look at things the way they are and not the way we wish them to be.
To my knowledge, every religion looks at light as a positive and darkness as a negative. Your sermon, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, raises the darkness. Could you, Michael, tell me your reasons for saying that?
Well, I'll go back to the solstice that we just had, the winter solstice, a time of rest, a time of relaxation, a time of hibernation, a time of praising the darkness, of getting in touch with the darkness. I'm going to jump around a bit. We talk about, Jungian psychology, about the shadow, which is, we talk about darkness as evil. We talk about it, except when we're talking about money, when you're in the red or you're in the black. But usually we're afraid of the dark. And darkness is something that we come from darkness. We came out of our mother's womb. That's darkness. We make love a lot of times at night in the darkness when we're hibernating. The darkness, you can't appreciate the light unless you have darkness. Our ancient ancestors understood this. That's why they knew about the dark of the solstice and the mysteriousness of the dark and the light, and that you needed both to be human. You see it in Taoism with the circle and part of its light and part of its dark. You need the balance of that. And we don't even have to get into race. So we don't want to be afraid of the dark. We want to look at darkness as for what it is. It's the balance, the equilibrium of what is light. You can't have one without the other. And that's what that sermon is really about.
Beginnings and Endings is one of the sermons given in your section on spiritual growth.
Yes.
You say they are all part of the cycle of life. How so?
Because every ending is a new beginning. And if you look at life, hopefully you get to see that life is not linear. It's not a straight line. It's a spiral. All civilizations, well, our ancient civilizations there was something sacred about the spiral. And so every ending is a new beginning, whether you believe in life after life or not. And so if you look back at life or the events in your life, T.S. Eliot has a wonderful quote about this. We will never cease from exploration, but at the end of it, which is kind of contradictory, we will arrive at the place we started and we will know it for the very first time. Because we're going to be different people. The same situation may come up in life, relationship, jobs, whatever, and we may handle those relationships differently because we're different. Because the same lessons come to you until you learn from it. And that's the spiral of life. It's sacred. That's what I mean.
Your sermon, Inner Landscape, stresses the importance of cultivating an inner or interior life rather than focusing on what is going on around them. How, Michael, do you suggest someone go about doing that?
I suggest we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Again, the quiet time, being close to nature, being close to the ocean, having an active prayer life, contemplation, meditation, where you can turn off the noise, where you can turn off the chatter. All genuine spiritual and religious traditions talk about that time, that you make that time. I'm reminded of this probably resonated with what we talked about earlier. One of my spiritual fathers was a mystic. His name was Dr. Howard Thurman. He was a mentor to Dr. King. He was a mystic and he was an academic. But he said this. He said that and this is for my friends out there who don't like religion or who are very religious or spiritual, not spiritual, whatever label. Any truth found in religion is in the religion because it's true. It's not true simply because it's found in the religion. Okay, I'll say it again. Any truth found in religion, any religion, it's there because it's true. It's not true simply because it's found in the religion. And again, I emphasize that we can find pearls of wisdom, truth, call it what you will, in any tradition, even oral tradition. Our ancestors put it there, and we still talk about it because there was truth in it, period. It's not true just because you found it in the religion. And that's where wisdom comes along. And of course, I don't know whether it was Socrates or Plato who said that I am wise because I know that I don't know. Certitude is the enemy of faith. Certitude is the enemy of growth. And so we want to be on the lookout when we think we have all the answers.
Should viewers of Paranormal Yaker want to buy Enlightenment or any of your other books, how can they do that?
They can go to Amazon.com, or you could reach out to me, but probably better go to Amazon. I'm running out of copies, even though I don't have my new copy yet. But you can find my books there. Just type my name in. I have about 5 or 6 books now. They will come up.
Reverend Michael J.S. Carter, I thank you for being my guest on Paranormal Yaker and sharing with my viewers the love, wisdom, and humanity you've encompassed in your sermons. As always, it's been a pleasure yakking with you.
Thank you, Stan. I love being on the show, and I'm wishing you and yours a wonderful, wonderful new year.
Thank you. To you and yours also. Hi, everyone. This is Stan Mallow, the Paranormal Yaker. I hope you enjoyed the interview you just watched. So that you don't miss any upcoming shows, be sure to subscribe to my free YouTube channel. To do that, just press the subscribe button on your screen.